Hey, this is Mike Lindsay from Vital MX, and we have a little first impressions on the Greenger Powersports Honda CRF-E2. Now, starting off, why do we say Greenger Powersports and Honda? This product is been developed and produced by a company called Greenger. They're based here in the USA in Ontario, California, but is in collaboration with Honda. Basically, a couple years ago, Honda got a couple battery powered, electric powered of these kind of mini bike samples that they saw on the market. One of them was produced by Greenger's parent company. They tried the product amongst a bunch of others and they liked this one literally the best. So they went to that company, they set up this sub arm as Greenger, and then Honda went through developing this thing for 2 years with them. All the aspects of the suspension settings, how it looked, how it felt, some of the final details, and it had to go through all of Honda's R&D and endurance testing to be signed off. So yes, it's a Greenger Powersports item, but it has Honda's stamp of approval. It's sold in Honda Powersports dealers here in the US, and it retails for just under $3,000. A secondary battery pack, which we showed in a video clip, takes about a whopping 10 minutes to change, is an extra $1,000. We took a rider today that is very lightly experienced, has rode an XR110 a handful of times, has just kind of started riding dirt bikes. This bike here, even though a lot of people would look and go, oh, it sounds like because of the power displacement being a maximum 3.5 horsepower, a lot of people would look at it as a 50 replacement. And yes, the power is maybe a little closer than that. It has the seat height and the general reach of a little bit closer to 110. So our rider that was on today was 10 years old. It does range if you got a little bit taller kid in that, 5 to 6 year old range, they might be able to ride this, but it's definitely meant to get someone between that 5 and 10 year old range into riding. Of course, it's really accessible. We just took it into the hills behind my house, just able to play ride, no noise, very easy for the kid to get on it and cruise around. It has 2 power modes. The base power mode limits the top speed to 10 miles an hour and basically cuts the power input in half. Mode 2 fully opens it up to its 20 mile an hour speed limit and gives you the max power that it will allow. Mode 1 is very simple to ride. It has a very slow response, so it doesn't really try to get away from the rider. Mode 2 is definitely a lot more exciting. It actually has some really snappy throttle response. You definitely have that electric torque feel. Definitely would recommend anybody who rides it that their kid's first getting into it to try Mode 1, because if you jump right in Mode 2, they might get a little bit whiskey, just again because there's a nice little snap to it, but overall very easy to get used to. Again, this bike is not meant to be like the KTM SX50. We see this, you can ride it on a very light motocross track. Kids can cruise around, learn, but it's really not meant to be jumping big doubles or doing anything crazy. It's kind of a cross between a little bit of a play bike and a little bit of a moto bike, and it's really just meant to make it accessible and easy. It's really cool to see that with kind of the generation of kids we have that come off the Stasics. They're able to ride something like this. And ultimately why we think it's cool is because, again, we want to see kids on motorcycles more. We understand it's hard for mom and pop to come home from work, load up the bike, go to a track that's maybe 30, 40 minutes away, do all the bike prep. This thing, as long as it's charged, you got a little area behind your house, you got somewhere right down the street with the no noise, they can just go out there, cruise around, and if kids on dirt bike more, they're probably going to learn to enjoy it more, and ultimately we're going to get more riders on motorcycles, which is all in all a good thing. Again, maintenance is simple, pretty much lube the chain, check the tire pressures, maybe occasionally replace the tires on it, but charging is fairly simple. We plugged in this morning with a dead battery, took about 3 hours to come up to full charge, went out, rode around the hills for a little over an hour, and it used maybe a third of that battery. Again, it all depends how aggressive the rider is, but for the target audience, most kids playing around on this, they're really not going to eat up too much battery. They could enjoy an hour or 2 or more of fun on this bike very easily. Last 2 things we'll talk about are some of the ergonomics. It does have an adjustable seat height due to an adjustable upper shock pin position. It can bring it up from about 24 inches or so seat height to a little over 25 inches. It also has very adjustable levers. It has over 50 clicks of adjustment on the dial, so you can bring the levers way in and way out. So able to get a little bit of adjustment depending on the rider's overall size. Of course, you can move the bar position. The levers are fully rotatable. It doesn't have a one-piece clamp or low end bars on or anything like that, so you can get some adjustability there. And then the ergonomics on it are very narrow. Of course, it looks like a little mini version of a Honda motocross bike. It's really pleasing to ride, really easy for riders to stand up on, grip with their legs like they would on a modern motocross bike. And again, it doesn't just feel like a big low to the ground tank. The max weight on this bike for operating range is considered to be 99 pounds, but of course, as with most of us adults, we have a few guys on the staff that we've been playing around, ripping around on it. Yes, the suspension is very soft at that weight, pretty much instant bottom out if you hit any little bumps. It is really meant, again, for an entry-level kid. Be very plush, very forgiving for those guys to allow them to just cruise around and enjoy. If you have any thoughts or questions on the Greenger Honda CRF-E2, throw them in the comments section below. We'd also like to hear, what would you like to see us further do with this model? What do you think would be valuable information if you're looking at going out and buying one of those? Because we definitely like to test this bike a little bit more. Again, this was just a first impressions. So if you like this, thumbs up, like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more from Vital MX.